Welcome to There's a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell, and I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs, and I've been in business since 1994. I first want to thank our sponsors, Jonathan and Lyn Gildon at the Gildon Group at Realty Pros. They currently have over 275-star reviews on Zillow, which means that they're absolute pros. Whether you're looking to sell your house or to find something, I'm always out there looking, or I should say I've been looking for a place to buy for my business. You know, they're the pros to shoot for. So if you want to contact them, I will put all of their contact information in the show notes. All right. I want to please ask everybody again to download the episodes when they come in. Please rate them. Give them a 5, please. I don't think I've done anything to not give you a 5. Don't make me mad at you. Give me a 5. And share them with your friends. I would greatly appreciate it. All right. So today I'm going to cover strength training for kids. And this question once again comes from Harpreet in Silicon Valley, California. This is the second time this week he has got a question on the show. And you know why? Because he asks, I really want topics from you guys. I say it over and over. If you want to know something about fitness, ask me. I'm pretty easy to find. I will answer. A little quick note on Mr. Harpreet from Silicon Valley. He actually works for Facebook at the headquarters, and I want to just give them a shout out. He has this phenomenal training facility that he uses there. So when he's in California, we do remote training. When he's here, he trains at my gym. But his facilities are unreal, and he says there's several gyms on the campus. So that's pretty cool. And they offer healthy snacks and all those kind of things. But I just thought, you know, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people get so negative about everything. And we're probably not nearly as negative as we come across, but social media maybe makes people seem to be angrier than we actually are. But anyway, let's talk about some good things. Facebook has a phenomenal training facility for all of their employees. I know he appreciates it, and I think that's pretty cool. So he was asking about strength training for kids. I believe there was somebody in his family he was thinking about, and it's a great topic. So let me start out with my thoughts on that, and I'm going to give you the method to the madness. Now, the first thing I want to say is yes, strength training for kids is a good thing, or I should say can be a good thing. Now, let me define what a kid actually is, all right? So we think of kids as not reached adolescence yet, so not hit maturation yet, all right? And so that's obviously leaves a lot of wiggle room in between. It could be anywhere from a toddler to up to prepubescent. So there's a lot in there, I get. But as far as physiologically speaking, we think of kids in the terms of not reached maturation yet. Now, most boys hit physical maturation around 21, which is a little later than most girls who hit it at around 18. So those are pretty good benchmarks as far as when, quote, kids, unquote, can start training more like adults. In other words, follow the typical training programs that adults would be on. Doesn't mean everybody is equal at that age. I completely understand how that could come across that way. But it does give us some guidelines for that. All right. And here is why. So physiologically speaking, the method to the madness. So kids don't have the same anaerobic maturation of an adult. So there are 3 energy systems which replicate, or I should say, reproduce ATP, and that is the immediate energy system and That happens really quickly in the cells, in the muscular cells that you're actually using. More ATP is resynthesized, and I'm not trying to get too nerdy scientific here, just trying to get you to understand that ATP essentially is the only energy the muscle cells can use, so it has to be resynthesized. So there's the immediate, then there's anaerobic, and that's the system where you feel a burn when you're exercising, and that happens between, say, 30 and 90 seconds. Well, kids under adolescence or before maturation haven't developed that system yet. All right, so they're different. And I'll get into that, how to train in a second, but they're different. And then there's the aerobic system where ATP is basically constantly resynthesized at lower intensity levels. Okay, so they have not hit that point yet where that's developed. Another thing that separates kids from adults is they don't go through physiological hypertrophy until maturation points have been hit. So in other words, they don't get stronger from larger muscles. Now, if you're saying, well, my kid's getting, bigger, well, your kid might have reached adolescence earlier and have the growth hormones available to do that, but most kids do not. Then you might say, well, my kid got stronger. Yes, that can happen. And that's through neurological adaptations or recruitment. That means at any age, basically, the brain and muscular system work together as it gets trained. So the more times you do something, the more ingrained it becomes. That is called recruitment. And that is the only way kids get stronger. When I say only way, I'm not meaning to minimize it, because that's an important way. But they don't get bigger, they get stronger through recruitment. So kids are different. Method to the madness. Like, why? Why do we train kids different? Well, now you know. They're physiologically different. All right? They're physiologically different in the sense that they don't have the anaerobic system developed yet, and they don't hypertrophy. Now, the other thing that makes them different is they're not completely strong in all their areas yet either, including bone density and those kind of things. So they're more frail. So as I used to teach when I taught sports medicine, don't treat kids like mini adults. Like, just because they might be like really with it, really aware, sound intelligent, are intelligent. Don't treat them like mini adults because their bodies are different. All right. So that's the first part. Second part is, let's dispel some myths. When I was young, everybody said, when I mean everybody, I mean when I went to the gyms and the supposed role models were working there. And, unfortunately back then, those role models, weren't exactly, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, not exactly experts in the fitness industry, but you thought they were because they owned a gym and they were bigger. So anyway, the wisdom that they spewed was that you will destroy growth plates in kids if they work out. And that is a complete myth, and it is not true. It's not even close to being true. All right. So we're not going to destroy growth plates. Now, anytime you break a bone around a growth plate as you're maturing, sure, you've done some damage, but that has nothing to do with strength training unless it's an accident during strength training, which can be completely prevented. Okay. So that's not true. I'm working on my latest book, and I just finished a chapter or a section of it on this. So I'm going to reiterate what I just wrote, so it's really fresh in my mind right now. Maybe those myths started because of gymnasts. That can be the only thing I'm thinking of. Why? Maybe that's where all this myth started. So we know that gymnasts sometimes are, well, not sometimes, all the times that they win gold medals are smaller in stature. And so it's always been said, well, their growth is stunted. So gymnasts are very muscular, they're strong, all that good stuff. So maybe people think, well, that's why. So in other words, they're not really thinking about why this might occur. Because can that happen with gymnasts? Not so much the growth plate thing, really, but stunted growth per se, Well, yeah, but I think we're looking at all that a little differently, and one doesn't necessarily lead to the other. I think, why that potentially can happen is with any sport that requires lower body weight, whether it be a gymnast, a high school wrestler, jockey, distance runner, all of those sports require lower body weights. I mean, they don't require it, but we all know the lower body weights are going to lead to greater success. So unfortunately, what happens in some of these sports, not all of them and not all people in the sports, but we start to see some disordered eating, all right? Eating disorder is where bulimia or anorexia has been diagnosed. Disordered eating is a notch below that, and it's very, very common, all right? Meaning that there could be some disordered eating patterns where gymnasts, runners, wrestlers are not taking in the nutrition that they need at certain ages because they're trying to make weight. When I was in high school, we had guys walking around in class with their cups, spitting in their cups because they were trying to lower their body fluids so when they weighed in, they could make weight for the weekend's wrestling match that occurred. That happens probably even still to this day, I'm guessing, in sports that require lower body weights. So if we're constantly not taking in enough calories and not taking in enough calcium and these types of things, of course, we can impede our development of growth. All right. But that's from that. And again, this is a reach, assuming that that's why people think weightlifting does it. Can the sport of weightlifting do it? Yeah. I mean, if a kid's in high school, and I've heard of this, and they have to make a certain weight, maybe they're competing at the 132 pound mark of weightlifting, then, they could have growth issues later on and, possible disorder eating patterns later on. But that's because they're trying to make weight. That's not due to the weightlifting. Okay. So weightlifting does not cause growth spurt problems and all those types of things. That's just really not true. All right. So should they do it? The answer is yes, if they want to. That's a very critical point. If you make a kid lift weights or strength train, all right, I'm putting those two terms together. Strength train is the more accurate term of what it is, but we're thinking weight training. The only difference between them all is the modes that you choose. So really, we're all talking the same thing. But if you make them do it and they don't want to do it, most likely you're creating an adult that maybe doesn't want to do it because they were pushed to do it. And if they kind of didn't already want to do it and then they get bad instruction, oh man, you're setting them up for failure later on, right? So kids shouldn't have to do it, but if they want to do it, or you're opening their eyes to it, like I know parents that say, hey, little Jimmy, come work out with me, and that could be a great bonding experience. Absolutely. I think it's a beautiful thing. But if they don't want to and you make them, you're probably setting them up for problems down the road. Now, why would you make them? All right. So I think sometimes we all, lump everything together. I think it's just such a common human trait of ours to lump everything together. So we're like, I'm going to get my kid working out because kids these days are lazy and they sit home and they play on the computer. So my kid's going to go to the gym and we don't want them lazy. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you're right and you're wrong. Like, I agree it's great to encourage outdoor activity and getting outside and doing things. That's not playing video games. I have nothing against video games. I think they have a place in a kid's life, whatever. But I think anything can get overdone, of course. And the parent wanting their kid to be more active is awesome. But why are we always lumping weight training with that? I mean, I talk about it in my book that I'm writing now. Weight training is not the best weight maintenance exercise out there. Weight training is to make you stronger, to improve your activities of daily living, to make your muscles bigger and more tone. And it's great. It's one of my favorite things to do in the whole world. It's not the greatest tool for losing weight, right? It can be part of a weight loss program for sure if you're cutting calories. So why are we making kids do it when there's other activities? If you want them active, great. Sign them up for baseball. Sign them up for basketball. Get them involved in crew. Get them involved in games. I mean, when I was a kid growing up in New Smyrna, it's a pretty active kid. I did start lifting weights in junior high because I found it to be cool, and I joined the weightlifting club at the junior high. So I thought it was pretty cool, and my mom bought me a bench press set, and I loved it, right? I was 13, 14 or so. But, that wasn't my main thing. I mean, I rode my bike all the time. I played a little bit of little league sports like basketball and baseball. I played competitive tennis. I rode my bike everywhere, to and from school. And then, we as kids, ventured out on the weekends, right? I remember riding my bicycle over the bridges at night and go to the movie theater on Canal Street. I probably wouldn't want my daughter doing that, but, it was a little different time. And, who knows? My mom trusted me, I guess, and all worked out. But I was active. So I wouldn't say, my kid needs to work out for activity reasons. But if they want to learn to get stronger, great. More power to them. Don't think, though, it's going to turn little Joey into little Joey Montana, though. I think, I'm just bringing up all the things I hear a lot, so I'm just trying to dispel all these things that could potentially happen, okay? They think, well, if I get my kid working out with weights, they're going to be the next Joe Montana or Dan Marino or, you name it, whoever you want to throw into that quarterback realm, or they're going to be the next Michael Jordan or LeBron James or whatever. It's like, look, okay, sport specificity means I don't want to get too far off into the weeds here, but sport specificity means that if we practice a sport, we're going to get better at the sport. If we want to run better, we need to run. That's sport specificity. It's been taken too far in the training circles in my industry where people then say, okay, so then they need to do a certain type of weightlifting to play a certain type of sport. Well, there's a lot of debates about that, and I'm on the other end of it. I don't think that that's true whatsoever. I think we're having kids do way too many specific activities to try to get them ready for the next level that all parents think their kids are going to get to. Shouldn't say all, but many. And the reality is less than 1% of 1% ever make it to the pros, and less than 1% ever get a college scholarship. I'm not trying to be negative. Those are just the facts and numbers. And everybody thinks their kid is the next superstar, and the only thing that they're missing is a strength training program or something. Well, look, that isn't true. All right. So specificity means that if you want to play better basketball, you play basketball. Absolutely. It's been taken too far when now some of these places, and I'm not going to name names, but they have specific strength training programs for these sports. And look, people, come on, wake up. All that is really trying to take advantage of you, knowing that you want your little Johnny to be the next, Johnny Unitas, so to say. And they know that you really believe that, and they're going to take your money, and then they're going to have kids do these exercises that maybe they hate, that are never going to make them better football players, soccer players, basketball players. So don't do it for that reason either. All right. So I'm ruling out the reasons why not to do it first, and then we'll get to why to do it. All right. Don't do it because you want them to lose weight. Now, that's increasing activity. And more importantly, that's you setting your own example of how you live their life. They will follow that. Don't do it because you think they're going to be the next LeBron James or Michael Jordan. Do it because maybe they bring it up, want to work out because they want to get stronger, and they simply are interested in it. And if that's the case, because that's how I was. That's how I was as a kid, and I was, again, middle school, junior high age, and it just looked cool to me. We had a weightlifting club at the junior high, and people were lifting weights, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. That can challenge myself to get a little bit stronger, and I liked it. Great reason to do it. I wasn't thinking, oh boy, this is going to lead to weight loss, and I went through a chubby phase at that age, but I still wasn't thinking that. And I wasn't thinking this is going to make me this great athlete. I just thought it might make me a little stronger, and this looks pretty fun. And if that's the case, I think a lifetime of lifting weights is phenomenal. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. That's the time to do it. So regardless of what age your kid is, and I've already defined that, if they can physically do certain things and they want to do certain things, by all means encourage certain things and then get them proper instruction. All right. So here's things, though, that we do have to know. Get out your pencil. All right. Kids should never be doing lifting. Again, got to say it again. Hate to be repetitive. Sorry if you're ahead of me here, but kids defined as hadn't reached adolescence yet. All right. Kids should not lift things over their heads. They should just not lift things over their heads. So like military presses, things should not go up over their head. Couple reasons. One, common sense, they could drop it. Two, what it's going to do is create some compression in that spine, and their spine may not be strong enough yet. You just don't want them to get injured. All right. So they don't need to be lifting things up over their heads. There's many other ways to do it. Number two, don't do compression style exercises. That means like things on their spine. Kids don't need to be doing barbell squats, things like that. Because think compression, okay, take your hands and push them together, that's compression. So if the neck is coming towards the butt, that's like compression. So any weight on the shoulders is not recommended for kids. Not going to cause a growth spurt. What it could cause is an injury because they're just not overly strong yet. They don't have all the bone density and they don't have all the ligament dexterity yet. It's just not quite there yet. So that's another rule. 3, and this is one you're probably going to go, didn't think of that. Don't necessarily push body weight training like sit-ups and push-ups and squats and lunges. We always think those are the easiest. Ladies and gentlemen, have you not watched CrossFit? I mean, those are really, really good athletes. Now, I'm not, sold on everything CrossFit does, but that's not neither here nor there. But I will say that the elite ones are super great athletes. Look at the body weight exercises they're doing, all right? Body weight exercises are some of the hardest of all of the exercises. They're not the easiest, they're the hardest. When you're doing a body weight exercise, you're doing 100% of your body weight, all right? If you're doing a standard push-up with your toes on the ground and your hands on the ground, you're doing 70% of your body weight, all right? That'd be like taking a 100-pound kid and say, go ahead and bench press 70 pounds 10 times. Right, all of a sudden, that is pretty hard. So that's not easy. When they do lunges, they're not coordinated enough to do lunges right. And their knees going way over their toes, and they just have improper form. When they're doing squats, they're completely bent over. So don't encourage body weight exercise. Although you think they're the easiest, remember, Rob said they're the hardest. What you should encourage for kids is machine training and dumbbell training. That's ideal because then you can manipulate the loads so they learn how to do proper form, because we want these kids to be lifetime lifters. So number one, they got to love it. Number two, if they learn to do it right, they're going to love it even more, and they're going to be safe. So encourage, you think, machines are for older people. No, now they don't always fit kids. That's absolutely true. But with a machine, you can use a very small percentage of weight so you can learn to do it right. For example, they can get on a leg extension and just put on 10 or 20 pounds and have no problem with it. If you ask them to do a squat, which also works the legs, you're going to see that they can't do it properly. If they can, fine, as long as you're not loading up the spine. If you want to train their upper body, which of course is great, they can get on a chest press machine and do 5 pounds on each side versus trying to learn how to do a push-up, which may do nothing but discourage them. Light dumbbells are great too. They can do seated curls, and they can do seated raises, and they can do lying down chest presses, and they can do dumbbell rows. So anything that doesn't go over their head vertically, they can use dumbbells for. So again, there's a lot of things we can do, but like those are the rules. Another thing to focus on is you don't need to smoke them out, so to say. All right. We really shouldn't be doing that anyway. We call that shotgun training approach, where we just try to beat the tar out of a client so they think they had a good workout. That's the sign of a unprofessional trainer, by the way. We should be following a nice, plan that works for the person and pushes them accordingly, but not overdoing it. And kids should absolutely never be smoked out, to the point of puking and things. I mean, it happens sometimes because they're not overly conditioned sometimes, but it shouldn't be done on purpose, kind of like the old, football coach of, all right, we're going to run wind sprints till you drop. It's like, okay, that definitely has no place in a gym whatsoever. So they really shouldn't be going to what is called muscular failure. Muscular failure is the point where you can't do another repetition. All right. Now, number one, remember, they don't even have that anaerobic system, so that's pointless anyway. And number two, you're just kind of encouraging bad form, most likely at that point. So they should be using sub-maximal loads where they're feeling the resistance and they can tell you, if they feel it or not, but they should not be going to failure. Another point, keep the reps around 8 to 10. All right. If we get up high reps, again, you're smoking them out. They're all of a sudden going to start fatiguing, lose form. They're going to hate it. Keep it in a nice moderate range there to where they have enough load to feel it and learn how to do it properly. All right. And then the volume doesn't need to be overly high. The sets can be like 1 to 3 sets in there. All right. So my rules kind of always on strength training is, I always talk about the Super 6, but I like to choose 6 exercises. This is for any group really. 6 primary exercises in a workout. And for kids, keep the reps around 8 to 10. Keep the sets between 1 and 3. Use dumbbells and machines for the modes. Maybe an occasional body weight squat or whatever, if they can do it. And I've seen some young kids that can. I have a client, he brought his young kid in one time and he was doing perfect body weight squats imitating his dad. I mean, that's great. But the key is a lot of times kids can't do that. And you have to simply know your kids, obviously, to be able to make that determination. Don't push them to do it, though, if they're not doing it right. That's just not being responsible. And get them proper supervision. If they say, they're working out at a friend's house or something, just kind of be making sure that the friend and the dad or whoever's watching them kind of know what they're doing. Because again, you want to encourage lifetime lifting, and that happens with really getting mentally ready to go, meaning enjoying it, liking it, seeing the positive benefits from it, and learning how to do it right. All right. Speaking of that, let me thank our second sponsor, chiropractic physician, Dr. Doris Antos of Ormond Beach. I'm happy to hear she's going to be coming on the show here in a couple weeks, her and her new associate. And we refer to them. They're absolutely great. One of my clients just went up and saw her. Preventative reasons, because this person's going to be doing some marathons coming up, and she just wants to make sure she stays regular with chiropractic. Very important to think that way, all right? Sometimes we don't understand all of the allied health people, and chiropractic physicians aren't meant to just treat you when things are broken, all right? I don't mean broken literally. We can go to them for maintenance. All of her information will be in the show notes. She's in Ormond Beach on Granada. And until next time, be Max Fit and be Max Well.